Hey there, Nomads. What's going on? It's Codiak here, and today I wanted to check out the Shaman's Path video. This was released by the Last Oasis crew. I guess they have an internal videographer, content creator, whatever you want to call him, named Jakub. He's been working on a small side project called Shaman's Path. Now, this is using all of the world of Last Oasis, the assets of Last Oasis, but a completely side project separate from the main game. But there's some really interesting stuff in here that I want to talk about. So we're going to watch it down together. We're going to break it down frame by frame because you never know. Even though they say none of these things have anything to do with the main game, it's hard to believe that somebody within the team is working on a project like this that has nothing to do with the game. Obviously, these are assets within the game. Maybe Jakub developed them himself. Maybe they're assets that have yet to be put into the game, but there are definitely some things in here that I'm interested in and I want to talk about. So let's check this out. This is Shaman's Path. So incredibly cinematic too. We see the Nur there, out of the game at the moment. And this is really what started to pique my interest right here, and I bet you can tell why. Another really interesting scene. We'll talk about this. Love this structure here, this bone encampment. Really, really cool stuff. Really freaky character too. Incredibly nomadic, freaky, tribal. And then this great crane shot here. Here's our shaman on the dinghy. We got crabs, we got Nur, we got flying dragon things. And almost as if he's going to take on this army of nomads here, creatures in tow. So it's a really, really cool visual that they're creating with this story. So you really have to give him props for the cinematic nature of this. Every time we show one of our videos, I do my best to hide the UI, to show it in a cinematic way, and this is exactly kind of what I'm aiming for. It's a cinematic showcasing of things in the game. And now this scene doesn't really, you see a crab moving in the background, you see a mini crab on the ground there, almost like a nod to the evolution of the crab, which I think is really fascinating. And then we start with the in-game kind of footage, yet still in a cinematic light. Now, the first thing here is these yellow and fleshy looking eggs. Are they eggs? Are they Nur eggs? It's hard to tell. It would be really cool in the lore of Jakub's mind that these Nur are laying eggs in piles of their fallen victims or eaten victims, and they leave the bones as the nest for their young. It's a really cool concept. Obviously, we know that Nur are incredibly hostile. And then here again, we get to the next scene where we've got this flying creature. And I want to pause on this flying creature for a second because, man, can you just imagine if there were these creatures in the game? Now, I know there are a lot of issues with the game still. They took Nur out of the game because they just couldn't figure out how to get the AI to function right. The Rupu are still somewhat in flux. They're better or are they worse? People disagree about that all the time. But now we're talking about flying creatures. Now, again, I want to remind everybody, they say that none of these assets are part of the real game, but let's be honest here. If they're being designed, who knows? They may be used at some point. Could be a content patch 3 years from now. Who knows? But they've got these nests here. These guys have really fleshy looking eggs. Again, it's kind of that red, pale pink eggs, 3 shiny eggs in a pile of rope here high up on one of the rocks. It almost looks like a broken hull of a ship that's kind of been splayed out, that this creature that we don't know their name of laid their eggs in. And you can see obviously it was some sort of vessel because we've got large chest, we've got a medium chest. It's a really cool visual. Again, the whole thing is incredibly cinematic, which makes me really excited. And then we get to this scene here. I really like this scene. I just love the way this looks, this kind of circular encampment. I love the spiked, barbed, however you want to call it, spiky wall structure that the Nomad has created here, that Jakub has created in this scene. We've got obviously a lot of skeletons on the ground, but I would love to be able to make something like this in the game, a circular build, less constrained than what we currently have in the game. It's a really cool looking build here, and definitely something worth considering putting in something like that into the game. Give people a little bit more flexibility with the building. I think the building is going to be expanded upon immensely. Obviously, we have the wood, we've got the hardwood, medium wood, we've got the heavy wood, we've got the cement, we've got the clay. There's still a lot we can do in terms of expanding the build tools. Here we have this incredible bone tunnel going into the Nomad Shaman's hut, and you can see him kind of in the background here. We've got a really cool decorative wreath here. Hard to tell what that's made of, but the bone tunnel is really the selling point here. It's just absolutely incredible. You can see this is some sort of massive creature. Hard to say what it is. We don't necessarily know. Is it a giant Nur? Is it something else? Is it a sandworm? Possibly a sandworm. We know those are coming soon in the game. It doesn't quite have the same structure I would imagine the face has, but it's still a really cool structure nonetheless. And then we get to this hut here. It's almost like stretched leather or hide over wood, which is a really cool aesthetic as well. And again, we see kind of that circular building pattern of the wood from the inside. And then we're inside with this Nomad. Incredibly gaunt looking character, white skin, face mask that covers everything. And then we get to this shot here, and this one really took me back. It's really gross. It almost looks like one of those flying creatures' eggs. Maybe he used the egg for some sort of potion or ritual. Just really cool to look at that. You can see the mortar and pestle right here. We've got some mushrooms over here, and definitely gross and bloody and fleshy and ugh, not my thing. And then here we go. We've got this one. I could not quite tell what this was. And let me know in the comments if you have any idea what the heck this is. Is this a crab leg? Is this something that the shaman built? It looks like a crab leg of some sort or some sort of creature leg. It's really hard to tell, but it's going into some either molten magma cauldron, or maybe that's boiling water that just looks weird. Hard to say that one. I couldn't quite tell. So if you know, leave me a comment below. And then we get to the Nomad here. He's got a really cool weapon on his back too. I don't know if you guys notice how bowed that weapon is. You see how curved that weapon is? It's a really cool looking, I think it's actually a rib, like a bone rib from that creature possibly outside. Really cool, creepy as hell looking guy. Awesome looking mask. Would love to have options like this for headpieces in the game. Right now, the only two headpieces in the game are the fiber head wrap and the cloak, which is actually a headpiece, but something like this would be really cool. Gives your character some identity, especially when you use that alt function to bring your camera close. It's just really cool altogether. And then we get this awesome crane shot. We've got the rock ring around here. I mean, again, we've got this circular build. It's just a really cool design. Would love to see more POIs like this. Something that has a little bit more flavor, a little bit more color to the culture that they're trying to create in the game. Now, again, I want to remind everybody this is a side project, but it's still really cool to see. Imagine running up on this in the desert. You would be like, oh my God, what the heck is that? So it's very cool. And then we get to a very familiar scene. But what I do want to point out is that in this story that Jakub is telling, it looks like the Nur and the crab and the flying dragon things are all tameable creatures. So is that something that could possibly, again, side project, but could possibly be in the game? Who knows? Can you imagine having a Nur on your side as just something to distract your opponents? I mean, that would be incredible. Obviously, we know that the crabs are a huge problem right now. Naked people can just aggro them, run them into your base or walker. It's not quite right, but I digress. It's really cool. So it's a really interesting project, guys. This is called Shaman's Pathway. If you haven't checked it out yet and you want to watch it without me talking over it, go check out the Last Oasis official YouTube page. It was posted on their official Discord. It's a really cool project. I'm excited about it. I think there's plenty of stuff in there that could make it into the game in some way, shape, or fashion. Who knows if they're going to do that? Remember, we've still got a lot to come in the next few weeks for content. They just fixed a huge database issue. All of the issues with the servers they've been having were database side, so they just fixed that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We have the Burning Oasis coming up. We have private servers coming up. Great chance to remind you guys that Legion Gaming will have an awesome private server. It's PvE focused with special PvP events. We have a ton of PvP events planned for that server. If you guys like fighting, if you like arena style fighting, if you like shoutcasting, stuff like that, you want to join our Discord, you want to check that out. It's going to be really fun. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts about Shaman's Pathway in the comment section below. And as always, like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this in your feed. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legion Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.